Man, deprived of the glory of God, faces the harshness of a planet wasting away because of sin. We must sow in order to reap our daily bread. By working, we either accumulate wealth or get poorer. We grow up, reproduce, and die. The story in the book of Job took place at the same time as those of Moses. It tells us of a very rich man who respects God, knows the meaning of the sacrifice of the lamb, and the atonement of sin. See the book of Job. Notice that verse 6 changes to a celestial setting where beings created by God are presenting themselves before him. Among them, Satan arrives, representing earth, which he had taken as his own without right. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased by the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. Summary: Job is a just man before God. We could say a good man. Something is happening in heaven which Job doesn't know about. The governor of the world in which he lives is accusing him of receiving undeserved blessings from God. God therefore permits Satan to test Job by harming him with disease and by taking away his possessions. So God withdraws his divine protection from Job, but warns Satan not to take his life. The angels of heaven are witnesses of Satan's accusations. And now the latest news update. 8 people killed in a massacre. A strange natural phenomenon leaves dozens of cattle dead. A sudden tornado destroys some homes, leaving billions of dollars in losses and killing close to 10 people, Job's sons. Calamity comes and dwells in the life of Job, and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. The story of Job continues with another accusation of Satan before God, who again grants Satan the opportunity so that celestial witnesses verify whether or not Job believes in what he has been told, of a rebellion in heaven, and of God's solution in a certain period of time here on earth. The story continues in a touching tale of Job's afflictions, which of course were caused by Satan, and of how in this conflict the name of God is at stake. Heaven has had the opportunity to see how God has dealt with Satan, the accuser, with regard to Job not deserving God's blessings. Job respected God with all his heart, and by suffering his afflictions, he showed heaven how much faith he had in a Savior whom he had never laid eyes upon, but only heard of. He believed that God was merciful and just for permitting man to choose whether to do right or wrong. Job was in the same condition as you and I are today. Never have we seen God, but only heard of him through different sources. After the angels discovered how false Satan's accusations were against God for having blessed Job, and how Job remained adamantly faithful to him, he was blessed with twice the things he had lost. Hence, this is a perfect example of why bad things sometimes happen to good people. God has every right to test the sincerity we hold for him. What blessings have you received? Perhaps you live a life that pleases God? Are you healthy? Whatever your condition, God has had mercy on you and on the world, in spite of the fact that some of us despise his wisdom, his way, the way he wants us to live, his precepts. The problem is that at the end of this conflict, you and I will have to determine how far we will be from his divine protection. We of this world are going to suffer the same afflictions which Job suffered in his time. Matthew 24:21 says so of our time. While we are in this world, we remain in enemy territory. The enemy who showed his intentions to us all when afflicting Job and being the cause of his ruin. He has been the author of all our woes. This is sufficient proof to show us that God is not evil. It is Satan who brings illness, incites wars, and plants hate and pride and greed in us all, and then slanderously accuses God of what he himself is author of. God does not want to withdraw his protection from any of us. Check out Psalm 23:4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. One of the biggest problems is that we ourselves are stopping God and his kingdom from entering our schools, our government, and our lives, just because someone said, we don't want any praying done in our schools, nor any reading of the Bible. Sad but true. We cheer for promiscuity, uncontrolled sex, all types of sensual indulgence and violence. We protest because our children are corrected and disciplined in school, and then, ironically, we want God to bless our comings and goings. Mundane living does not please God. We are the ones who abandon God, and thus place ourselves within Satan's grasp, who is roaming and ready to devour. And then we blame God for whatever goes wrong. Under this impression, we become aware that evil is not necessary, as Oriental culture suggests, with the yin and the yang. Illnesses, violence, death, loneliness, hunger, and abandonment bear the seal of Satan's rebellion, consequences which man now carries on his back for despising the life that God gave him in paradise. The Bible, as opposed to Oriental culture, establishes radically that evil was never necessary. But other cases which verify God's judgment took place here. One fine example is the case where Abraham was asked to sacrifice Isaac, his only son. When Abraham stretched forth his hand to take the knife and slay Isaac, an angel ordered him to stop. Abraham proved his loyalty to God before the eyes of heaven's angels, his creation of invisible witnesses.